To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Well, I'm in conversation with Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg, who is the former Secretary DEA from Government of India. He headed also the interministerial committee that drafted the cryptocurrency bill entitled Banning of Cryptocurrency and Regulation of Official Digital Currency Bill 2019. Mr. Garg, thank you for joining us today and taking it straight forward to the latest proposal. Now that the government is talking about introducing the cryptocurrency and regulation of official digital currency bill in 2021 versus the 2019 draft one in which you were keenly involved, we see a major jump of terminology from banning to regulation. And second, it talks about certain exceptions of private cryptocurrencies. How do you see this proposal?
So thank you very much. Not much details are available of the bill at this moment. We all only have a sort of preamble kind of message which is contained to the message to the parliament that the government will bring this law. This is titled somewhat differently. It will ban private cryptocurrencies. That has been said, but there would be some exceptions. So what exactly is being banned? Cryptocurrencies is not only currencies. They are much larger ecosystem today. They create a lot of value in terms of services of all kinds today. They also help run the digital economy. They create a lot of assets. So, in fact, the currency uses of cryptos has declined. It was originally conceived as a currency, that Bitcoin business. But today, globally, there is much smaller use as currency. There's much larger use elsewhere. So what exactly is to be banned? We don't know. What is to be, even if with respect to currencies, what is to be exempted is not known. There is also a positive intent about government tasking the Reserve Bank to bring the official digital currency. But what kind of digital currency it is, whether it will be for wholesale, for retail, or a replacement of the paper currency, which kind of technology it will use, nothing at this moment is known. So I think we will need to wait for the law to emerge. I also see it from a little different point of view. Last year also the government had promised to bring a similar law in the parliament in the winter session. That did not happen. So let's see. I guess the bill is still to be considered by the cabinet. It has not been approved by the cabinet. It has not been considered and approved. So while the broad messaging appears to be clear, that the official digital currency would be introduced in the country, the private cryptocurrencies would be banned, but what else about the larger ecosystem and all is still not known.
Absolutely, getting those pointers together, we are understanding that the influence of cryptocurrency has widely increased in India. But from a government stance point of view, and somebody who's worked with them as a former secretary, why do you think there is a need for India to ban private cryptocurrency?
See, that rationale is clear. The currencies is a sovereign function. The currencies which we use to trade, make payments, remittances, and all is essentially a sovereign function. That is where the biggest trust comes into it. Private currencies, you can print any, you can bring out any number. There is no regulation, there is no control. Just imagine for a minute that if the private industry or private entrepreneurs were allowed to print paper currency, the bank notes which the Reserve Bank issues, suppose they were allowed to be printed, by the private entrepreneurs, how would that work? They would simply flood because the cost of printing the note is almost nothing. If you print 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees note, it might actually cost you hardly about 2 rupees or 3 rupees, or maybe not even that much. Right. So likewise, the private cryptocurrencies, the cost of creating currencies is almost next to nothing. So how can a system function where the real goods and services are traded by a currency, a private currency, which can be limitlessly printed? So that system is not feasible. It's not workable. It's going to be dangerous, and therefore, private cryptocurrencies or private banknotes or private anything of as far as currency is concerned, I don't think that's a workable idea. That should be banned. That has no space.
Right. But so what happens to the investors? I mean, these are a lot of investors who've invested a lot of money, and especially if we talk about the millennial era, last 1.5 year in the COVID times, the youth has invested a lot.
See, that is the complexity about crypto ecosystem. They are not merely currencies. They are doing a lot more. There is value there. For example, if you take, let's say, Ethereum. So today, Ethereum is emerging as a global digital platform to create applications, to provide lots of services. For example, just so the banking and non-banking system exists for financing today. So you extend credit and all, but similar financing facilities are emerging as decentralized finance on the other platforms like Ethereum. Similarly, many assets are getting created. You've heard about NFTs and all. So a lot of valuable assets, and that's possible. You can have a print an artwork which is done on physical paper or canvas or something. Likewise, you can digitally create artwork. You can create a lot of services, music, games, other things on the crypto platforms, and that is what is happening elsewhere. The complexity is that the crypto system works where lot of these things, the goods, services, assets, currencies, get enmeshed, and they become one single kind of manifestation as currencies. So the ability of the governments and the society to segregate the value from the non-valuable things like currency is still not figured out. And that is what the millennials are being driven by, that valuable thing which is being created on that. The underlying technology of blockchain and cryptography is a very robust, very innovative technology, and it will give a big run for its money to the traditional database or centralized technology on which today's financial system runs. So whether it's equity markets or bond markets or even banks, deposits and all, they all run today on the traditional centralized system. But as an alternative, decentralized system or the blockchain cryptography system is emerging. And that is giving a good run. That is where a lot of value will be created in the future. And that is where the millenniums are investing. So, but most of the time, the future is not so very clearly known. So you may get carried away. You don't really have a very good sense about what is the real value of these currencies and all, or the crypto assets or the crypto system itself. So that is where I think the government will also have to figure out very clearly that what are they trying to sort of regulate or ban or promote. So unless those things are, unless we develop the ability to segregate the valuable from the invaluable and then bring accordingly a law, if that is what we are able to do, then the what we see today, the value of different cryptocurrencies in the exchanges, etc., they might receive a sort of adjustment, but they will not vanish. But if you throw the baby with the bath water, so to say, that by sort of banning cryptocurrencies as currencies, you end up banning everything, right? Then you would be doing a great harm to the country. And in that event, if that happens, I hope that doesn't happen, then the investors would stand to lose.
Right. But just taking that point forward, sir, it's not a full ban. Are we clear on that? At least after the 2019 proposal, this looks more like a partial ban because they mention of certain exemptions, and also on that exceptions part. What do you think would the exceptions be like? Is there a place to have these kind of exceptions?
So that's exactly one of the ways in which we may be able to figure out this crypto ecosystem phenomenon, right? Uh, the the exemptions have not been spelled out so far, but there are some are understood. For example, for research purposes, for right, those may be very small uses, but might be sort of understandable. The biggest exemption, if that is so, which the government will have to consider, and we don't know whether this is in the bill so far, is can we permit the cryptocurrencies to be used for payments inside the platform? Just visualize, many times you go to malls or clubs or something, and they have their internal tokens. So you exchange when you go there, you buy those tokens, you make payments through those tokens, and at the end, whatever is left over or whatever is your accumulated tokens, you exchange it for the regular currency when you get out. Similarly, if we visualize that blockchain, let's say Ethereum or Ether, or other platforms which are there on the cryptocurrencies, once you enter into that for that services or whatever, you buy that currency, that cryptocurrency, and you use that within that platform, right? And when you exit, you take your currency. It is very much happening much the same way in some of the crypto platforms which we know as stable coins. For example, US Tether, USDT, you can exchange your $1 with one Tether, one USDT. It's equally valued. It's not very clear that you can take out, but you can transfer equivalent of $1 when you transfer one USDT to somebody else, right? So the biggest exemption, is the government prepared to allow the use of the cryptocurrencies on their own platforms, not with the outside the world? It's a complex thing because it can become the currency of remittances, as we are even hearing now, and from abroad it can become sort of, a lot of things can actually be done with that. It can expand the uses of that cryptocurrencies. So how do we figure out the exemptions? We will have to see.
But sir, this internal exchange that you're talking about, that can only happen when the RBI introduces its currency, right? This we cannot involve the use of private or other such public tokens.
No, they are there already. So you have Bitcoin, you have Ether, which is the currency of Ethereum, you have Tether, which is the currency of stablecoin USDT, and there are many more. There are thousands of them now. So they are there, right? That is where the people are investing. Those currencies are also traded on the exchanges globally and even in India. So they have come into being. Now that interface of those currencies with the RBI currency, let us say government currency, is what is to be figured out. One extreme is that you say that none of the private currencies will be allowed. So even on a platform like Ether, if you want to do some transaction, you use the government currency, right? That is one extreme. The other extreme is that no, we don't care. You use Ether or whatever, and you can freely exchange it with RBI rupee, and that's fine. Whether you are doing in-platform transactions, or you're doing outside transactions, that circulates. Ether circulates, Bitcoin circulates as the rupee is circulating. That's the other extreme. In between is one option where inform or intra platform you use the private cryptocurrency, but outside the platform you have to only use the rupee or the official currency. It's not that simple, but broadly these are the extremes, and that is where the middle ground is. Whether this is being sort of proposed as an exemption or as a permitted use or as a regulated use, we don't know at this moment. We'll have to see. But this would be the biggest issue, besides the other issues, which are the treating the cryptocurrencies as assets. That's separate. But even in terms of currencies, I think this would be the biggest issue.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for joining on this conversation and giving us so much information on, I think, what's made the biggest news overnight.
Thank you very much, Karishma. Thank you very much.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.